Yeah. New guys coming to you live. You could bet this like Jerome. New guys are men of steel. Best coverage in the league. Prime Reavers on the field. Don't know better ask. G-Nick, the hype is real. Gurus with the knowledge, you can check the mass appeal. They gon' turn your fantasies into dollar bills. Making dynasties from drafts like the Spurs when they build. Want the bragging rights and titles at your work. Let the new guys serve the wisdom to you first. I ain't advertising, just kicking facts. They turn average Joes to Drakes cause they winning back to backs. So sit back, relax, all ears when they speak. And rain on competition with anything they leak. Make leagues joy gray like Ramsey did Reek. Passing off the mic, I'm out here, peace.
Hi fans, welcome. We're doing just the audio today because Nick is not joining us. He is busy sleeping right now. Actually, we're not sure where he is. He's playing hooky. But I'm joined with Brett the Gertis. How you doing?
Evening, G-Bear. It's great to be here. It's a shame they can't see our beautiful faces, but it's great to be here anyway.
I'll try to find a nice picture of us. So it's just the two of us today, and we've got a lot of things to discuss. A lot of stuff going on since a couple of weeks ago when we last recorded. And I want to start this podcast with some breaking news. Some real riveting stuff. It's not on this list. Ready? I want to ask you how this shakes the NFL foundation.
Yes, sir.
The GOAT has officially retired. Brock Osweiler is done.
I thought you were going to say Gardner Minshew at first, but damn. We shall mourn his absence.
The Brocktopus.
Is that really his nickname?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good one, though.
It might be, but if it's not, it should be, yeah.
So I didn't see that coming. Well, keep me on my toes. Well done, G-Bear.
The man signed for like $70 million to do nothing.
He's no one said he wasn't smart.
The real life Alex Moran. Anyway, we have some real topics to discuss. Not that that's not real, it did actually happen today. But we have other things we would like to go over. And I guess we should start with the MVP conversation. I'll turn it to you. I think entering the year, a lot of people pretty much penciled in Pat Mahomes to bring it back. And that's not necessarily the case. So do you think there's one clear-cut standout or a couple people
There's a couple
have in the
people.
running?
I have three right now.
Okay.
If it was right now when we had to decide, it would be between Patrick Mahomes, even though See, the thing is, we're like comparing him to last year's incredible standards because he set the world on fire. He was amazing. And now we're like, okay, so we want to see more of that. And he's still having a really good year, but he's not putting up the eye-popping numbers from last year. And I think that's working against him, but it should be noted that he's not 100%. He's on one leg. He doesn't have a great offensive line, so you have to factor that in. Second is Deshaun Watson, who just
beat him.
Beat him. That was a great game, great performance. Mm-hmm. He also doesn't have a great line, even though they played better last week. And then Christian McCaffrey is my third. If I had a vote right now, I would give it to McCaffrey because what would the Panthers be without Christian? I know Kyle Allen's played pretty well. He's admirably in a tough situation. He didn't expect to start. But if you took away Christian McCaffrey from the Panthers, I think they would have one win. Maybe.
So I agree with that. I think it should be McCaffrey, but it won't because he's running back.
Very true.
Which is unfortunate, but true. Running backs typically don't win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
If he sustains this all year, maybe, but I do think his usage is a little ridiculous. I feel like
tough to maintain.
They are contenders right now, and if they want to enter the postseason with McCaffrey healthy, they're probably going to scale his workload back a bit. But
that's why I said right now.
Yeah, right now he should be in the conversation. I'm going to throw out a few not front runners, a couple people who are sort of afterthoughts just because of the performance of McCaffrey and Watson and all of them. Tom Brady's really playing great football, and I know they haven't really versed anyone other than one road game against the Bills, but he doesn't have Gronk, he doesn't have Antonio Brown.
Edelman
was out for a little bit. The running game really wasn't working the first couple weeks of the season, and yet Brady just kept getting it done. And also Russell Wilson, with how efficient he's been. Their defense isn't anything spectacular. Tyler Lockett is a great receiver, but Doug Baldwin retired, and there's really no clear-cut number two. They were utilizing Will Dissly significantly. He was having really a breakout year before he tore his ACL, so it'll be interesting to see how that offense adjusts.
It's a good one. I shouldn't have mentioned Russell.
But Russell's just been so efficient, which he does every year. But it's been impressive. They've won games pretty much just because he's pulled magic out of a hat.
Yeah.
Which, again, is not going to win MVP, but it does merit his name in the conversation.
Absolutely.
So we looked at the current standings before this, and we're going to tear through the AFC pretty quickly. We want to discuss who we think is going to win each division. But the AFC overall seems pretty obvious. Not to slight the teams we don't choose here, but it seems a lot easier to say this team is head and shoulders above the rest than the NFC is. So we're just going to go down the line. AFC East, the Bills have played really well, but
It's the Patriots.
It's the Patriots. Until further notice, it's the Patriots every year.
They got a nice defense. Another name we could have mentioned, I think that should be, he won't win it because he's a defender. Stephon Gilmore should be. His value is unbelievable. That defense is insane. He shuts down the best receiver every single game. More love to Stephon Gilmore.
Granted, though, just worth reiterating, they beat the Giants, Washington, Cincinnati, Miami.
True. Factor that in, absolutely.
San Fran is undefeated, but they've beaten real teams.
Absolutely.
The Patriots, that resume is impressive, but a little suspect in my opinion. But I'm in agreement. It's the Patriots in the AFC East. So we'll move to the AFC North, and really the Browns are still sort of in disarray. They have been all year. Pittsburgh's looked better, but they're down to maybe their third-string quarterback. I think Mason Rudolph just cleared concussion protocol.
They're not going to the playoffs.
But they're not going to the playoffs with that roster, without Big Ben. So almost by default, it's the Ravens who just traded for Marcus Peters, and either this week or after their bye, they should be getting Jimmy Smith back, which will solve their cornerback problem. So the offense has looked pretty impressive.
The defense will catch up.
The defense will catch up. Do you disagree?
No, I think you have it right. It's got to be Baltimore at this point. The only threat really is the Browns, and they still have a brutal schedule in the middle, and then the end it gets a little easier. But right now, after their bye week, they have to play the Patriots. That's probably a lot. I mean, you never know what could happen. They have the talent to win, but they're probably going to lose to the Patriots, which would drop them to 2-5. It's tough to make a playoff run with that. It's possible, but not likely. Got to give it to Baltimore. That run game is special. The defense will get better, I believe. So,
I just would like to mention that in the entire AFC, Baltimore is second on the list in their points differential with a plus 44. The Patriots lead it with a plus 142.
That's insane.
So, again, testament to A, the Patriots own the AFC East, and B, they haven't versed anyone.
True.
That is an insane gap and is not sustainable.
That is insane. 142.
142. It's ridiculous. Actually, I'm just going to look. Baltimore second in the AFC, but they might be... Oh, no, they're not second overall. San Fran at 83. Okay. Okay. So, just to put that in perspective. There you go. The AFC South is a little less clear-cut.
Most interesting
This
division.
one's the most interesting.
In the AFC, anyway.
And I will let you go first. Currently, Houston leads the standings at 4-2, coming off that big win last week against Kansas City. The Colts just had their bye. They should be getting their stud Darius Leonard back on defense.
Very true.
T.Y. Hilton's fully healthy now. So the Colts are right there, and then Jacksonville. I know they're 2-4, but they almost beat Houston in week 2. It was a last-second effort that didn't work out. Had they won that, both those teams would be 3-3. So I'm going to throw them in the mix,
They're not done yet.
unless
Not
you think
done yet.
Tennessee is the best team.
I do not. I like their defense, but their quarterback situation is in disarray. The Titans are out, even
Which-
though I like their defense.
Which
Very
we'll
underrated.
get to that quarterback change later on in this podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree they're out. So who is it?
For me, it's got to be Houston. But don't get me wrong, I like Indy. I respect them. Jacoby Brissett's done a really good job. They'll be in the mix. I think they could have easily be a wild card team. But I think for the division, I think it's got to be Houston. I love Deshaun Watson. The line, like I said, they haven't been good all year, but they played pretty good on Sunday. And I like to see that. Maybe as they just acquired Tunzel, so, they've been having to, doing on the fly. So I think once that offensive line gets established, they can be even better, get that running game going, just give Deshaun Watson a little help instead of him just always having to force it to DeAndre Hopkins, because Deshaun Watson is amazing right now.
Yeah,
He can do it all, and the defense isn't great, but it's good enough.
Yeah, it's true. If you can get to D-Watt some time, that offense will be like a finely tuned machine. On defense, J.J. Watt's shown his age a little bit, in my opinion, but like you said, they're still fine.
Yeah.
I am going to respectfully disagree. The Colts are where I'm going. My cousin would have a field day
Yes,
if
he
he was
would.
here right now. So, Nick, when you listen to this, I'm choosing your Colts. Why? Because I think they have a better defense. They're sitting at
That's very
3-2,
true.
and Darius Leonard hasn't played since week 2. So, I think they have the better defense. They
I agree.
don't have the better quarterback, but they have the better O-line. Quentin Nelson is an animal, an absolute animal.
Very
And
true.
Houston, that running game's been serviceable, but Marlon Mack,
No stud.
no
go-to
stud
guy.
on Houston. Whereas Marlon Mack seems to be the real deal.
Yeah.
So, just because all of the surrounding pieces around Brissett overall, I think, are better than all the pieces around Houston, that's why I'm going to go that way.
It's close. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think
Yeah.
it might be, the last game of the season might come down to, who wins the division.
And it might also not matter. We could be looking at a wild card situation where
Absolutely.
they both make the playoffs, but we're talking about who takes the division. You say Houston, I say the Colts, and really we won't know for a while. And last in the AFC is the AFC West.
This
I
one's
know
most obvious.
Kansas City's lost 2 straight, and the Raiders are 3-2. But it's Mahomes and the Chiefs. I feel like, should we discuss Oakland or Denver's won 2 straight?
I think the biggest disappointment is the Chargers, because
Yeah.
they had Super Bowl aspirations.
They
They
did.
were a popular pick last year to win it all. After that collapse in New England, they just haven't looked the same. They don't look confident.
Well, they've also dealt with a lot of injuries
Very
this
true.
year.
But
And also the controversy with Melvin Gordon. Like, I feel like that weighed in on their preseason, weighed in during OTAs. Like, that throughout the regular season as well, that was the topic of discussion surrounding the Chargers, and it could have taken focus away.
it's a good point. They have been killed by injuries, but they don't look right. There's something very off about them. They don't have confidence. Their O-line looks shaky.
Yeah.
They can't cover anybody, which is part due to the injuries. But
Phillip Rivers really doesn't run, so it's like Eli with us.
He's a
When the
statue.
O-line was bad, he can't really do much. So,
absolutely.
but I agree, they've been a disappointment. The Raiders, I don't want to say they've been a surprise, but it's been impressive, considering where they were
Heading in
last
the right
year.
direction. Yeah,
But
so.
not
Kansas City, we
ready to overthrow Kansas City,
Absolutely.
who just got Tyreek Hill back.
Yep, they'll be okay. As long as Patrick Mahomes is okay, they'll be fine.
So we're going to move on to our division now, the NFC East, and we're going to try our best to not be homers here.
Yes, sir.
Um,
We'll try.
I will let you take this one.
It's tough. Like, it's really because I would love to say the Giants. I think it's between Philly and Dallas. we could easily be 1-5, but we beat the Bucks on that field goal. Don't get me wrong, I'll take the victory. Any victory is a good victory, but I think eventually it will come down to Philly and Dallas, and it's tough because they don't look none of them look very good right now. That's why we're still in it at 2-4. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to who do you trust more between the quarterback and coach. Do you trust Dak and Jason Garrett more, or Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson more? I trust Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz more when it all comes, when it's all on the line. I'll take Philly. I'm not super confident. I wouldn't be shocked if Dallas won the division, but it's going to be close. It's going to be a bloodbath. It always is. It's going to be a tough division. I think Philly takes it by the skin of their teeth. They don't look great. I don't feel super confident. Their secondary is atrocious right now. They're getting destroyed, but they can run the ball. They can stop the run, and I trust Doug Peterson more.
They really can stop the run. They're pretty good at that.
Yes, sir.
Their cornerbacks are a mess, but
Yes, they are.
other than that, they seemingly have all the necessary tools to win the division. But I am not going to take Philly. Gertis, I know you.
No, you're gonna take Dallas.
I know you're pretty new here. For those of you that have been listening for the last 3 seasons, I'm sure you know what's coming. My unbiased opinion is that the G-Men are taking the division.
Oh, wow.
Woo! I always take
I'll
the
be happy.
G-Men.
I'll be happy. Don't get me wrong.
So I will make my case. That defense looked better last week. That defense looked much improved against the Patriots. And we could have caught them off guard. They could have been underprepared. It could have been because of the rain and the weather ailments. But if that defense continues to progress and our offense can show any signs of life, why not? We hung around with the Patriots for 2.5, 3 quarters without Evan Ingram, without Saquon Barkley, without Sterling Shepard, and we could, in theory, have all of them back this week.
Absolutely.
The division is anyone's game. We're, mathematically speaking, 1 game out. And I believe we're a bit more because we haven't beat, because we lost to Dallas. We're behind in the tie-breaking aspect of it. But we are hanging with the division with a completely rebuilding team. We know what Philly is. We know what Dallas is. And Dallas, I think, are better than the way they've played recently.
Mm-hmm.
But the Giants are the team that stands to take the biggest leap throughout this year. And if we're 1 game back, about a quarter into the season,
The schedule is favorable.
with a favorable schedule, why not? But no, I always take the Giants.
I mean,
I always let
I would
Nick
love
take
it.
the games and stuff first, and I always take the Giants.
I would love it.
Yeah.
I think we're
It's
on
a
the
long
right
shot.
track. We're on the right track.
Yeah.
I like
we are.
where we're progressing.
Yeah.
I think this year our defense is too young. We have a lot of rookies on that defense.
So, liking where we're progressing,
quarterback.
let me ask you, and we'll go back to the rest of the NFC, but I also like where we're progressing. So let me ask you, looking back, who's winning the Odell trade?
At this very, and again, this could change. Maybe you won't find out for another year and a half, 2 years. But right now, I think you'd have to say the Giants, and that is an unbiased opinion because our offensive line looks so much better with
Yeah.
Kevin Zeitler.
It really does. And
And look at
Looks
theirs.
awful.
When you give up a guard, even though he's a guard, I know they don't get as much love as tackles. He's one of the best, if not the best guard in the NFL. And
I think
it's a difference of night and day. Look at their line, look at ours. Odell hasn't been anything special except really the Jets game against the Jets with a third string quarterback. They haven't looked special, and Baker's been turning the ball over left and right.
yeah, and a lot of that, not to say it's just because Zeitler's gone, but
Vernon hasn't really
he
done
was
much.
top 6 at his position last year, according to PFF.
Mm.
And, so now you've got new pieces on that line who are worse than what you had last year. Baker doesn't have the time, and
He looks off.
He seems to be a one-read quarterback, which I don't think he is. I just think he needs more time, or needs to at least trust in that line a little bit more.
Mhm.
And, I think in time they'll figure it out to the point where they can at least be competitive on a regular basis. I'm not going to say the Giants won that trade because, yes, our rebuild as a whole seems to be heading in the right direction, and their season as a whole seems to be in a tailspin. But I'm going to need to see it more. I feel like if that O-line got fixed, Odell would still be the difference maker that teams have to take account of every single game and plan around stopping him. And so I still think they won it, but I do think it's a lot closer than we thought.
Throw in
this
Dexter
time, 3
Lawrence,
months
who
ago.
we got with their pick.
Yep.
He's having a really good year
Yep.
as a rookie. It's tough. Like, it's just right now. It's you have to react to the moment. And
Yep.
there's a lot of football left to be played.
And
It could change.
And at the moment, the Giants have a lot to be excited about, whereas Cleveland...
We're a better 2-4. We're both 2
We're
and
a better
4,
2 and
but we
4.
feel better
Yeah.
about 2 and 4 than the Browns should be. The Browns should not be 2 and 4.
Yeah, the Giants, we're a team that was expected to be 6-10, 5-11, rebuilding for a little while. The Browns were pretty much
They're talking
chalked
Super
up
Bowl.
to be a Super Bowl
Yeah.
contender by some very horrible analysts.
The hype
You have
machine.
to see it first. The hype machine was so real. All right, so let's move on to the NFC North. This division is actually probably the most competitive overall. Regardless of...
All 4 teams
Yeah.
are playoff contenders at
Yeah.
the moment.
I guess I'll go first since you went first last time.
Go ahead,
and
sir.
I'm going to rule out Detroit. I know the refs blew that game for them, but they also had a lot go their way that game. The Green Bay had 2 wide open end zone misses, a fumble in the red zone, a turnover on special teams, multiple receivers went down. Valdez-Scantling missed some time, came back. Geronimo Allison didn't come back from his concussion, so they're still without Devontae Adams. So Detroit hung with them, should have won that game, but just because of the way the game broke is why they should have won that game. They're not the better team, and I saw enough to feel confident that in a game where Green Bay did not look that great until the fourth quarter, they're the better team. Chicago might be getting Trubisky back, but I need to see him as a quarterback. I still think that's the best defense in football, but that offense is pretty dysfunctional. And I love David Montgomery, but
Very one-dimensional right now.
they're very one-dimensional, and they haven't been running the ball very effectively either. So until that offense shows something, I can't choose them either. So then you're looking at Green Bay and Minnesota, and Minnesota, the first couple weeks, they were averaging 17, 18 throws a game. Not enough, but the last few weeks they seem to have figured it out. Kirk Cousins, yeah. So I think Green Bay's defense has improved significantly, but the Vikings' defense is pretty much intact from last year, generally speaking. They have that chemistry, so I feel like they're a more cohesive unit, and I feel like on offense they've figured it out. So I'm going to go with Minnesota, even though they're a game back at the moment.
Good call. I mean, I don't blame you for taking the Vikings. I'll take the Packers, and it's very close. And we were just talking about the NFC East and how it's a bloodbath. This is probably the most competitive division in the league because I could see 3 teams making the playoffs.
Yep.
I could see the Packers winning the division and the Vikings and Bears getting the wild card. That wouldn't shock me. I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna take out the Lions. I like where they're going. They're heading in the right direction. They're just a little young, and I don't think they're there yet. But they're playing hard for Matt Patricia. I like what he's done. The defense looks really nice. They're not there yet.
So, if Chicago does want to make a win-now type of move, and I know you mentioned this with another team trading for Cam, but Trubisky doesn't seem to be the answer.
You don't want to give up on Trubisky yet because you traded so much to move up 1 pick when you could have had Patrick Mahomes, and you get Mitchell Trubisky.
Or even if you didn't think Mahomes was great, Watson was that class
Yeah,
too.
there were a lot of good
either of them.
quarterbacks passed.
I agree. You don't want to give up on him, but this is year 3, and it hasn't played
We'll see
out
how he comes
the way
back.
the rest of those guys have.
But for me, it comes down to the Packers and the Vikings. The reason I take the Packers is because I just trust Aaron Rodgers in the moment of truth more than I trust Kirk Cousins, who's been, to his credit, he's been playing better. He
Mhm.
was trashed, and he deserved it because he was playing like trash.
Yeah.
But then we got to give him credit for the way he's been playing lately. But at the end of the day, who do you trust, Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins? I'm going with Rodgers. I'm going with their defense that's so much improved. I think they'll get healthier. Devontae Adams will be there. That running game with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams is very nice. As long as that defense can, bend but don't break, I think the Packers will win it in a close, down the stretch. But I think I'll take the Packers to win the division.
See, if the Packers had anything behind Devontae Adams, it might be enough to sway me.
Mm.
But
They need a number 2 receiver.
they need a number 2 or a serviceable tight end because Jimmy Graham looks completely washed.
Yeah.
Completely washed.
Another name only guy.
Yep. Big target in the red zone, but not when he's dropping touchdowns.
Mhm.
So, but we'll see. That division's going to be exciting all year. The NFC South is led by Teddy Bridgewater and the Saints, followed
Yes, sir.
by Kyle Allen and the Panthers. I don't think anyone expected Matt Ryan to be the seller of this division to a rookie and a backup. Wait, Kyle Allen's not a rookie. He's a second-year quarterback, actually, right?
I thought he was an undrafted free agent,
But from last year. I stand corrected. He's not a rookie. But anyway, point being, I don't think anyone expected Matt Ryan and the Falcons to be 1-5 at this point.
big disappointment.
They could be the biggest disappointment. I know you mentioned the Chargers, but Atlanta's right there.
Yeah, with that offense, you have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley was great last year.
Austin Hooper's having a breakout year.
Yeah, such a disappointment.
Devontae Freeman has played better, but that defense can't stop anything.
And injuries is a
Anything.
part of it, but
Yep.
the defense is just bad, really bad.
Mhm.
They haven't been the same since that Super Bowl loss. Honestly, it seems
Nope.
like
Yep.
they're just completely shell shocked. So, so who do you like to win the division?
Well, I went first last time, so who do you like to win the division?
Pressure's on. All right. Well, I'm gonna take the Saints. I think all they have to do is hold on till Drew Brees comes back. Teddy Bridgewater's been, he was more of a game manager the last couple of games, but I think he has what it takes to get it done. I trust him in the big moment to get that first down that you need to ice the game. They can run the ball with Kamara. As long as he stays healthy. I know he's a little
Mhm.
banged up in the moment, but they still have Latavius Murray. They still have Michael Thomas. This is the thing that I like about them is that they can stop the run.
Mhm.
Their secondary gives up big plays. Very true. I don't love the defense, but they can stop the run. They can run the ball. Teddy Bridgewater can hold things down until Drew Brees comes back. As long as Drew Brees is healthy, he'll finish the rest.
And he's already throwing, so it could be
Yeah,
a couple weeks from now.
it's a good sign. And Panthers, there's a good story with Kyle Allen, but they're running Christian McCaffrey into the ground. I don't know if he can sustain that. I'll take the Saints.
I will agree with you and take the Saints, with the caveat that Kamara stays healthy. He's
Mhm.
dealing with an ankle issue. There's rumors it's a high ankle sprain, but he would not be playing if that were the case. So I
Mhm.
feel like those are sort of fabricated. If he goes down for extended time,
It's a whole new discussion.
it's a whole
yeah.
new discussion. But as is, I agree, they're the better team with the better quarterback and the better backup quarterback.
Very true.
And I think that is going to decide how far they go in the postseason because the Saints typically play much better at home
Yes, they do.
in the dome.
In the dome.
If they take the division and if they're one of the top teams in the NFC, they could go very far. We could be talking Saints Super Bowl if they get to the end healthy, leading the division, leading the whole NFC. If they get as a wild card, it's same thing, a whole new discussion
Mhm.
because they're typically much worse on the road, or not necessarily on the road, but when they're not in a dome.
Cold weather.
Cold
yeah.
weather, yes. But it's positive Drew Brees is already throwing. It's positive that Cam is set to practice this week. Tampa, I think they are a little better than their record shows, but they're a distant third.
Mm.
And as for Atlanta, Someone's getting fired.
You are what your record says you
Someone's
are.
getting fired.
And they are 1-5. I predict Dan Quinn will be fired
Yep.
before the end of the season. It's usually the coach or the quarterback.
So
Matt Ryan's not going anywhere.
I'm going to give you 3 teams, and I want you to say who's getting fired first. Atlanta, Dallas, Chargers. Which coach gets the axe?
Ooh.
You can say all 3, but which one's getting it first?
First will probably be Dan Quinn because they are so bad at 1-5. Jason Garrett's a close second because they're just not living up to expectations. They have enough talent, and it pains me to say this. I hate saying it. The Dallas Cowboys have enough talent to win the Super Bowl. I think Jason Garrett is their biggest.
Jason
Garrett. It's a good nick. You know, it's a good nickname for him. I didn't even try that either, but it works.
Jason Carrot Top.
Jason Garrett is their biggest obstacle to making the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl, and he's their coach, which is not a good thing, in case anyone didn't know that.
Yeah, he's very much an 8-8.
Yeah, he's just... I don't trust him in the
coach.
moment of truth, but I think Dan Quinn will be fired because I think Jerry Jones just loves Jason Garrett as a son, so I think he'll just get more leeway for no reason, really, except that the owner likes him. So I think Dan Quinn gets fired first. What say you, Gilbert?
I am going to actually probably also say Dan Quinn, because the Chargers could hang their hat on injuries. So there's a clear reason why their team isn't performing to the level they had expected entering the season. They did just get Hunter Henry back, but that does not make up for all of the defensive pieces they lost and offensive line play.
Awful.
Dallas has been underperforming, but I agree with you about the talent on that roster. Randall Cobb will be back soon. Amari Cooper might miss time with a quad injury, but they should
be better
figure it out.
Yeah,
they should be better than 3-3. And so I think that ship gets right. Maybe because of this, they end up only being 9-7, but in the NFC East, 9-7 might be enough. So I don't think it's going to be Dallas, and by default, Atlanta as well. So anyway, on to the NFC West, and before we get into who's going to win this discussion, we should probably discuss the power play the Rams just made. They just traded
hot takes
for Jalen Ramsey, and they gave up the farm for him. They gave up this year's first, next year's first, and next year's 4th rounders for a man that they're going to have to pay, too.
Yeah, they're in win now mode.
Yes,
That's what
they
that
are.
means. Win
Yes, they
right
are.
now or bust.
They're tired of also tail spinning. They've lost 3 straight, and McVay's not getting fired. There's no chance at that.
Definitely not.
And they're better than that record is.
If he does, I'll take him.
Yeah. But that run game hasn't looked great. Gurley's a bit banged up. He missed last week.
Goff
That
does not
offense
look right.
does not look right either. Yeah, Goff. The last 2 weeks, not counting this last week, so 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, he was throwing for 400 yards, but not doing much with it.
He's not the same.
yards.
Without the play action, they're just not the same. They need play action with Gurley. Gurley needs to be running effectively for Goff to be successful, and right now that's not happening.
Which is why I don't think trading for Jalen Ramsey solves their biggest issue. It helps. Maybe you'll get the ball at better parts of the field throughout the game, a couple turnovers, but it does not solve the offensive woes, which have been the bigger issue in my opinion.
Agreed.
That being said,
Who do you like to win the division?
see, I want to say them. That being said, I want to say they're going to get right and win the division, but San Fran has been very impressive. They have beaten everyone, and they've beaten everyone pretty handily.
Badly, yeah.
Their plus-minus is second in the whole NFL. They've got the offense. They've got the defense. Bosa's a beast. Whole running back by committee that seemingly Shanahan can deploy however he wants, and it works. It just works. Garoppolo's playing well. He's not doing anything remarkable, but
He doesn't need to with
he
that
doesn't
defense.
need to with that defense.
That running game, yeah.
The Seahawks are interesting, but the way San Fran's playing, I can't lean in any other direction. What say you?
I mean, I can't kill you for that opinion. I'm actually going to take the Seahawks.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, I like the 49ers a lot. I respect their defense. And you got to give Kyle Shanahan a lot of credit because look at the Falcons and look at the 49ers. Look at the night and day difference. They can run the ball at will with that, dynamic duo. You can even put the third guy in there, Ito Smith, and he can have some success. I'm sorry, not Ito Smith. But, they have three-headed monster at running back.
Raheem Mostert.
That's yes. Good correction.
Mr. Bustard.
Yes, sir. Jimmy G doesn't have to do a whole lot. He doesn't have the best playmakers, but he doesn't need them. I like the defense. The reason I'm taking Seattle, even though I like the 49ers a lot.
Kittle.
Yeah, George Kittle's a great tight end. Took him to fantasy last year. Greatly rewarded. Even though I like the 49ers a lot, they're making the playoffs to me. I think they'll get in as a wild card, but the Seahawks, I think, will win it because of Russell Wilson right now. He's just playing out of his mind. You mentioned
He's
him,
just
the
a winner.
MVP candidate. He is a winner. Their offensive line is actually getting better. It was atrocious a few years ago. They're built for the run. They can run the ball. Their defense is playing pretty lights out. And it's similar to the discussion we just had before. Who do you trust more in the moment of truth? I
said Pete
trust
Carroll.
Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll over a very young but talented Jimmy Garoppolo.
And
And head coach of the 49ers. Why can't I think of his name?
Shanahan?
Head coach.
Isn't it Shanahan? I'm pretty sure it's Kyle Shanahan. Let's look this up. San Fran.
Yeah, I don't. Sorry, folks. I don't know why we're drawing a blank on
Kyle Shanahan.
It is
Yeah,
Kyle.
it is Kyle
I was
Shanahan.
thinking of him as a coordinator, but you're right.
Yeah. I think he got
That's-
promoted.
Yes, he's been doing a great job.
Yeah.
That's my bad for drawing a blank.
All
But
good.
Kyle Shanahan has been doing a great job. But I trust more the guys who've won a Super Bowl and who've been there before in
Mhm.
Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. So
They-
tough, especially at home with that crowd noise. It's all there, and it's going to be a very tight race down the road. But I think I trust Seattle a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about two other things before we call it a night. We're going to see two new quarterbacks this week start for the first time this year. Josh Rosen is being benched in Miami for Ryan Fitzmagic.
Oh boy,
Fitzpatrick,
here we go again.
the bearded wonder.
Deja vu.
And Marcus Mariota, long overdue in my opinion also, is being benched for Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. You said you like Tennessee's defense. I do as well. Miami, there's not really much to like. So Miami's on the road at Buffalo in a divisional game. Tennessee's at home against the underwhelming Chargers. Do you like either of them to do anything? I mean, Tannehill and Mariota are pretty similar in play. Fitzpatrick's very different from Josh Rosen. What are you expecting from these two quarterbacks?
I mean, if you had to pick a more likely upset, I would take the Titans
Mhm.
because of their defense, their
yeah.
running game.
And that's not really an upset. They've been the
Yeah,
better team.
Chargers have been pretty
Yeah.
disappointing, so I'll take them as more likely to win it. But I don't expect a whole lot from because
From
Ryan
who?
Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, they're very similar. I know Fitzpatrick can sometimes give you 5 touchdowns or
Yeah.
6 interceptions.
450 yards.
Exactly. He can look like the best quarterback in the league or the worst at any given time, and you don't know which is going to show up each week.
He's great enough to make you lose your job, but bad
Yeah.
enough to give it back.
So it's kind of, to me, it's like a lateral move. Rosen, Fitzpatrick, it's kind of lateral. It doesn't really matter either way. I don't expect either of them to, light it up.
Mhm.
If you're going to say who's more likely to have a great game, then I would pick Fitzpatrick because he's capable of the 5 touchdowns. But, if we're talking who's more likely to win the game, I'll take the Titans. But
So, I don't think Fitzpatrick's in a place where he can be that successful just because of the talent on that roster.
yep,
Um,
that's another good point.
Yeah, I think it's a move Miami's making to make it look like they're trying to be competitive.
They're not.
They're not. But I think that's why they're making this switch. And I also think they're conceding that Josh Rosen is not the answer here. But I do think, like I just said, Fitzpatrick will take your job and then he'll give it back. I think towards the end of the year they're going to want to take another look at what they have in Josh Rosen. But that team's just not set up for success regardless of who's at the helm, in my opinion. As for Tennessee, I think that's a bit interesting because that defense has been fine, and they have some decent, albeit underwhelming, weapons.
Get Derrick Henry going.
Delaney Walker's playing well. You drafted A.J. Brown. Corey Davis really hasn't done much all year, but he hasn't had anyone other than Mariota throughout his career. And I don't think Tannehill is better than Mariota, but maybe?
I think, it had to be made because the offense just wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So you got to at least see what he can do.
Yep. And I think he's healthy. He wasn't healthy his last few years in Miami. He's been on the team long enough to know the offense. And they also have Adam Humphries, right?
Yes, sir.
So they have okay pieces where Tennessee can be successful running the ball, relying on that defense, and just mustering up 250 efficient yards a game through Tannehill.
No turnovers and just...
Yep. And if he could do that, if he could drive the bus pretty much to the point where the offense looks functional, I don't think Mariota gets that job back because that's really all, in my opinion, that's really all that team needs. Someone that can drive that bus until they find the answer at quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are the answer for next year, but it's definitely not Mariota for this year.
You got to win football games.
You have to see what you have in Tannehill, and
signed him for a reason.
Yep. So, but I don't think either of them are the long-term solution for either of those franchises.
Definitely agreed.
Last topic. We're about a quarter through the season. Who do you have winning Rookie of the Year?
Very good topic, Chief. You want to start or you want me to start?
I could start. I could start. I'm all about Minshew Mania, and I would love to say that, but it's not going to happen because, depending on Jacksonville's situation, they paid Foles to be their quarterback. And it's hard to tell what Foles is off of, 7 or 10 passes. But they're probably going to have to consider switching back to Nick Foles.
Depending on
whether or not that's the right move is yet to be seen. But there's a chance Minshew doesn't finish out the year, and if that ends up being the case, he cannot win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. I do think it's going to be a quarterback, though.
Usually is.
Usually is. I would love to say Daniel Jones.
Danny Dom.
I would love to say Daniel Jones. But Kyler Murray's just very electric.
Yeah.
And a bit more polished and a lot more dynamic. I know Daniel Jones is more athletic and can run a bit and throw farther than we expected, but Kyler Murray can seemingly do it all.
He looks good.
Extend plays. He looks very good. And so I know their records are similar, and Daniel Jones can be our franchise quarterback in the future.
Also had 2 more games.
But yeah, Kyler had 2 more games and just looks more complete, more of the finished product. And so I'm going to give it to Kyler Murray. And that could change, but at this point, if the award was given out today, I'd give it to Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I'd have to agree because, like you said, the 2 more games makes a difference. I know Daniel Jones didn't look great in his last showing, but he was playing against Bill Belichick without his superstar running back, without his top receiver, against Bill Belichick on a short week. Did anyone really expect the Giants to win? I did not,
really,
and I'm a
no.
Giants fan.
And the week before that was against Minnesota, but
Exactly.
that defense is equally as strong as the Patriots, in my opinion. And
got to be Kyler. Right?
Our defense could not stop Minnesota at all. So
Very
Daniel Jones was in a position where even if he looked better,
He's
could
gotta
not
carry the
succeed.
team.
He's
Yeah,
got to
he's a
carry the
young
team,
defense.
and he can for a few games, but it's unlikely that we're going to spring many upsets this year.
True. So I'll give it to Kyler Murray. I loved him. I wanted the Giants to take him before it was like consensus number one pick. I wanted the Giants to take him. Obviously, he was not available at that point. He went number one to Arizona, but right now he's lived up to the hype. Not to say he hasn't made any mistakes. He's a rookie. He's gonna make some mistakes, but he bounces back very well. You saw it in the first game where he was just awful the first half, and then he led him to a comeback win in the second half. He's dynamic. He can do it all, and he has everything around him to be successful, and he should be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and
he
it's
plays
a long
quarterback.
season, so yeah. It's impressive though how he'll have like the pass rush right on him and just scramble and escape like that.
And that seems to be.
Immediately.
I was thinking about this today as a just quick aside, still on topic, but an aside. It seems to be
The way
the most successful quarterbacks in the NFL are the ones that can extend plays with their feet. They're mobile, they're agile, hostile, all those other ones. The ones that can extend plays, because the ones that can't, look at Jared Goff, we were just talking about, what a disappointment. He's not a guy that can extend plays. He's somewhat athletic. He can maybe, if he has a 10-yard head start, he can get a first down, but he's not Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, like Kyler Murray. These guys can extend plays with their feet, escape the pocket, and improvise. And that's right now it seems like the statue quarterbacks are the ones that are not having success because of how athletic the defenders are in today's game. You got to have an athletic quarterback, it seems like, is my main point. And that's just something I was thinking about today when we were talking about this.
it does seem to be the movement. I mean, Dwayne Haskins, perfect example. He's
Baker.
not very athletic and also looked like a deer in the headlights when he played against the Giants. I think that decision was sprung on him, so he wasn't really in a position for success, but we were also not a good defense. Like, he should have been able to do more than he did. And that's just the perfect example, in my opinion. Like you said, the mobile, athletic quarterbacks are having success, and then those that can't extend the plays seemingly aren't, or at least taking a step back. But if that is the direction the league is heading,
It's a copycat league.
yeah, it'll be exciting, and teams will have to catch on.
Then maybe it's a good thing we got. I wanted Haskins. I'll admit it. I wanted Haskins over Daniel Jones. But again, it's a small sample size. But right now, it looks like we made the right choice because
It does.
you look at who's going to escape the pocket and create more plays. It's got to be Daniel Jones. It's very underrated athletically.
Yep, and I did not necessarily want Daniel Jones. I didn't want to take a quarterback. I think next year's got a very good quarterback class, and I was very outspoken and adamant about let's wait one more year
Tank for two.
and essentially tank for Tua. But even if we didn't get Tua, we could end up with another franchise quarterback
Herbert
next year.
or something like that.
There's a lot of people coming out, and so that's what I wanted. I mean, I'm happy with the way Daniel Jones has played. Everyone in New York is happy with the way Daniel Jones has played overall. But I can't sit here and boast, I wanted that man, because I didn't either. I didn't want any of them. I know you wanted Haskins. I didn't want any of them, except for Kyler Murray, who was not attainable without trading up. All right, I know I said this is it, but I feel like because we're in New York, and I hate to end it on this, but it just popped into my head, I feel like we should touch on Sam Darnold, because he returned from mono, he beat the Cowboys, he looked pretty good doing it, and that whole team looked rejuvenated. So, do you have any points on Sam Darnold you want to discuss?
I mean, he created a spark. I mean, they were used to doing absolutely nothing on offense and like historically bad. The happiest man is Le'Veon Bell because now he doesn't have to face a stuffed 8-9 man box every single play.
Yeah.
So that'll open up Le'Veon Bell. You can get the play action going. Darnold has a pretty good rapport with Robbie Anderson. I like that combination.
And he's really force-feeding Jamison Crowder, too.
Yeah.
He's developed some chemistry with him in the brief time they've been together.
Young, I don't think they're making the playoffs. They're a very young team. But if Darnold stays healthy, I think they'll be certainly a lot better than they've looked so far, aside from last week when Darnold came back.
Yeah.
That was an impressive win.
I think they could have fought for a playoff spot if they didn't start 1-4. If
Yeah.
this whole mono situation didn't happen, they
Tough
could have been
schedule.
in the running. And they did have a tough schedule starting out. But if they started out 3-2 or 2-3, maybe. But I just feel like 1-4 is a bit tough to come back from.
Tough hole.
But they're not even at full strength yet. They're still waiting on their tight end, Chris Herndon, to return from it was a suspension and then a hamstring issue, I believe, is the current predicament.
Kenyon Williams just got back, so
So, the Jets, there's a lot to be excited about there.
we're
but-
still better.
We're still better, yes. I don't think it's either of our teams' year.
No,
I know I said the Giants are winning the
a
division,
man
but,
can dream.
but realistically, the best team in New York is Buffalo.
It's very unfortunately true.
So, all right, that is it. We're going to wrap this up. Best of luck with your teams, your fantasy matchups, your everything, unless you're a Dallas, Philly, or Washington fan.
I concur.
Yep. Yeah. We're still in it, so we, would like you to start losing some more games, please. Thank you.
We'll take the help.
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.